Hi, and welcome to the Dead Duck Film Club podcast. I am here with Mark.
Hello.
In a new space. Oh my God, it looks so good. I love it so much. Thank you so much for Nottingham College and all their staff for allowing us to hang out here and film some podcast episodes. Dead Duck Film Club podcast is a podcast about bringing you the best of international cinema. And today, we're going to be talking about two movies that are fantastic. We've got Infernal Affairs from 2002, and then we have Exit 8, which just released, actually.
Very nice. And two different forms of adaptation to talk about there in different directions as we talk. We'll get into it as we go, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get into it. So, first of all, let's talk about what we've been watching, actually, because we usually do that, don't we? I like to talk about what we've been watching just before we get into the main movies. Mark, what have you been watching?
I have just caught up with Project Hail Mary, which I'm certain that everybody has seen at this stage. You talk a lot about having good cinema experiences. I'll tell you what, that was a properly good cinema experience, to actually have a properly full screen, even though I was watching it in the middle of the day. On a weekday in the centre of town.
Was it sold out, like kind of,
not
or
fully,
just
but
really
close
packed?
close to it, and yet, I don't know, man. This is this is one that I think I'm going to have a really unpopular opinion on. But I'm just constantly thinking about The Martian, and I'm thinking about what I've heard from folk like yourselves who've read the book, and some friends of ours who've read the book, who are telling me that there are elements in that book where they're talking about how just as a brief update for anyone who hasn't seen Project Hail Mary, it's about a crisis in which there's a global cooling situation due to some aliens, and Ryan Gosling is sent to space to try to fix it. And it's from a book that is the same author who wrote The Martian. Andy Weir.
Yeah.
And so obviously The Martian is just nothing but science and logistics and how to react to this situation. I'm stuck in this situation. What would I do? How would I make this work? Project Hail Mary is a lot of fun buddy cop stuff in space. Not buddy cop, but fun buddy stuff in space.
Yeah, friendship.
Absolutely. And it has a lot of... it's got a lot of entertainment in there, but I just miss those details of the scientific, interesting stuff about The Martian. That's what I want in my sci-fi. And so the stuff I'm talking about in the book, apparently in the book there are sequences where, in response to this global cooling situation, governments are like nuking Antarctica in an effort or nuking the Arctic maybe to cause global warming to accelerate. And they've cut that kind of stuff out of the film to focus on the buddy Ryan Gosling and an alien in space stuff.
Rocky.
To me, I want the opposite. I want to know what the government would do in response, or what governments would do in response to that kind of a crisis, how humans would come together, how humans would clash, what it says about our current climate crisis. I think there's more interest in that.
Well, I shared with you that I believe the person who wrote the script, basically based on the original novel, said that couldn't fit in. Basically, they couldn't fit that one in, and that sent you in a rage.
That's crazy to me to not be able to fit that. Firstly, it's exciting. Firstly, it's like that's a great scene. You can picture that, and that's going to get people sort of interested. And then it also says a lot about humanity and who we are, the way that we would respond to a crisis with one foot in emotional overreach and trying to control everything, and one foot in extremely practical, logistical approaches that could conceivably work. That's an interesting scene. That's an exciting scene. That's a quick scene. It doesn't even necessarily have to happen on camera. You can be talking about it. The scenes where Ryan Gosling is talking to who is it, Sandra Huller?
Yeah.
About what global governments are doing. It could be discussed in that scene, even as a plan. This is what we're going to do. It wouldn't take much to add that. I think it speaks volumes for a disrespect to the audience to think that they wouldn't keep up with that kind of an idea, or they wouldn't find that interesting.
Right, because you said this is basically The Martian for dumb people.
I'm
quoting you.
And Arrival for dumb people to an extent. The sequences that deal with language between Ryan Gosling and the alien, they skim through it so quick. And then now they can just communicate in English and it's fine.
But yet the movie's 2 hours and like 39 or something. It's quite long. The Martian also is quite, I think the Ridley Scott cut is like 3 hours long.
Yeah, and there's someone who I know who doesn't like The Martian because they think that it cut too much. And they're talking about specific scenes in the book and different approaches to the problem that were removed from the film. So.
It's the curse of having read the book though, right? You'll always be thinking like, God damn it, I wish they had added this. This was my favorite part. Why is it not in here? Stuff gets cut all the time.
And yeah, I'm coming to it as someone who didn't read Project Hail Mary.
That's true.
And I'm still frustrated by the absence.
So you wanted more
I want more
sci
science.
in your sci-fi.
I hear that there were like 3 full chapters in the book of just them trying to breed nitrogen-resistant amoeba.
Yes, yes.
And that's exactly what I want.
They did kind of skim really quickly through like, oh, well, now it's done. We can do it. Actually, yeah.
Whereas The Martian is nothing but how do I grow potatoes on Mars?
Yeah.
How am I going to launch this rocket under reduced gravity, under reduced atmospheric pressure? And it's fantastic, and it's still exciting and entertaining and funny.
Well, that's the question. Like, why do you think it's done so well compared to like The Martian? Well, The Martian did really well too, but what Project Hail Mary? Why do you think it's done so well?
If you were to compare those two and the landscapes that we're in now, maybe it says more about the landscape of blockbusters now, that people are just crying out for entertaining, fun, and exciting sci-fi. But something which is a lot of those things.
Yeah.
At a time where, back when The Martian came out, like the MCU was riding high, everybody was loving the big blockbusters that were coming out. Even the Fast and the Furious things, as they were coming through, people were excited by them, people were into it. And then all those kinds of big franchises seem to be waning now. So maybe people are just starved for a decent blockbuster.
Okay, is it a hot take to like more sci-fi and more sci in my sci-fi? Is that the hot take?
I wish that it wasn't a hot take. I wish that was like the standard opinion, that what I want from sci-fi is potential, actual, real-world science, and what it says about humanity.
Right.
Those are the 2 things that you want from...
Have you seen Mickey 17?
I've not seen Mickey 17.
Okay, because I got to talk to the author, and he mentioned his frustration with the lack of like believable science in most of these books and stuff like that. And I think he enjoyed The Martian, and that's why he tried to set out to do that. Anyway, Mickey 17, cool, awesome. I'm happy you watched that movie. We definitely need you to watch more blockbusters rather than like movies about donkeys and stuff like that.
Yeah, from time to time.
Well, I also watched Project Hail Mary. I loved it. I went to watch it twice. I'm seeing it again tomorrow night. Yeah, well, it's been one of those, like, I go once and then people around me hear about it who are not necessarily, like, into cinema. And they're like, I want to go see it. Do you want to come? And I'm like, all right. And then I go, and it's great. And I did actually travel to Manchester to go to the IMAX because I was like, I want to see it in that format. And I also haven't had many IMAX experiences. So I went, and it was really, really good.
Visually, it is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not a film that I hate, this one. It's just a film that I'm disappointed by.
Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
And I've heard other people also echo that sentiment.
Yeah.
What else? What did I watch? I watched Exit 8, which we're going to be talking about in a second. And you know what? Maybe I should talk about A Clockwork Orange because I just watched that and it's on my mind. Yeah. So I watched A Clockwork Orange for the first time, Kubrick's film. It was kind of a blind spot, really. One of those like, I'll get to it one day. I'd have seen The Shining and like the Bird one and a few other ones. And I was like, okay. And my wife was like, we should watch this. That was a really weird thing also for her to say. Because she's like Grey's Anatomy and Clockwork Orange. Those are the only 2 things I do.
They've got colours in them, it's close enough.
So anyway, I watched The Clockwork Orange and I have so much to talk about that movie. I mean, I won't because we're like on a deadline, we're on a strict deadline here, but I do think it was really interesting and super jarring, actually. I really didn't enjoy the first 30 minutes. I thought, what am I watching?
There's a lot to find off-putting about the first 30 minutes, about all of The Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. And then as soon as we got into the prison and we started like working towards like a narrative that I guess my little brain could like understand, I was like, okay, and I get that. And then by the end of it, I was like, that was actually really thought-provoking. But I can only imagine if you're like opening night and you're seeing this movie and you're like, what is this? And you don't know about Kubrick or anything.
I mean, it didn't release on opening night, famously. It was banned everywhere, and the Scala got themselves shut down specifically for showing it.
Wow.
That's what had the Scala in London in 88 or 89 or so.
Was this a BBFC kind of thing, or was
Yeah, this was Video Nasties era. It was one of the big Video Nasties. We weren't allowed to see it in the UK for a very long period of time.
Okay.
And there's an extent to which, compared to modern day films, like, is it that crazy compared to what we have released today? I mean, it is extremely violent, hyper-violent and hyper-sexualized.
There's a lot of rape.
It wouldn't get banned today.
Okay.
Which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of violence towards women and stuff like that, which was tough to watch, but then it kind of like ties into the narrative and stuff. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to or talk about The Stranger, which also
I want to hold off to talk about it until we talk about The Stranger.
We will get to it. Have you seen anything else that you want to talk about?
Not for this one, nope.
Okay, cool. I will shout out Hoppers also. For an international podcast, we don't watch a lot of international movies.
Yeah, why don't I Hoppers? Is this happening?
I really like Hoppers. Animation-wise, like sometimes that's all I want to see something cute and cuddly, and not all animation is equal. And the last time I saw a movie that really just made me feel comfortable and like really cozied up was Big Hero 6. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. Really like that. And then Hoppers that we recently watched, which actually has a bit of environmental kind of discussions in it.
Yes.
Not fully realized. Have you seen Hoppers?
I've not seen Hoppers, but I'm aware of it because it touches, for those who don't know, my day job is working for the UK Green Film Network and trying to support environmental cinema releases in the UK. And a conversation that we consistently have and don't know the answer to and are open to discussion on is what has the most impact when it comes to an environmental film? Is it a documentary that is extremely focused on the climate crisis and is speaking to a very specific issue and has actionable goals coming out of it and ways to mobilize an audience and will play to an audience of a few thousand people who already know? Or is it Hoppers that is broadly environmental-ish and has a little bit of nice themes to it and will play to everybody in the country?
Yeah.
That's like what has the most impact? We don't know. What is it, Avatar or is it Our Land?
Right.
I like to think that it's Our Land, but I know that Our Land's only playing to a very small number of environmentally engaged people.
I don't know if you'll love Hoppers because Hoppers has a bit of a, we have to fight back against like bridges being built and destroying ecosystems and stuff like that. But there's less of a, I think the moral of the story is like, let's try to work together so you can still have your bridge and we can still have nature.
I'm so disappointed. Oh, God. But that's the question, isn't it? But so that is going to be a small approach to it.
Yeah.
But it's going to reach everybody. Every kid in the country is going to go see Hoppers.
Yeah, so it'd be great if we could clone you and you could come out at the end of Hoppers and be like, stay in your seats, folks. Let me talk to you about...
Yeah. Let's briefly talk about terraforming.
Don't move, kids. Okay, we should get onto Infernal Affairs now. So let me read the IMDb log line, which is what we usually do. Infernal Affairs, released in 2002. A Hong Kong cop working undercover in the Triads and a Triad member working undercover in the police are each assigned to root out the other. Great premise, right? And in a way, you know, we like to kind of pull these synopses, the IMDb synopsis apart to see if it's actually representative of what we're talking about. This is kind of the movie.
This is quite a good one for that approach because it's such a simple premise. It's almost like a bottle episode of a movie.
Yeah.
That's just taking this single idea and then really focusing on it and what it would do to people.
Yeah.
That actually is compared to something like. What was the one that just had The Handmaiden, which just like very briefly gave you the intro. We can't actually talk about anything that happens in this film without spoiling it.
Yeah. This is actually a very straightforward movie in a way because it's about two moles in the opposite side of the opposite side, right? Which is great. The budget was $2 million, and it made $8 million worldwide in 2002. Which is modest, I guess, you know, for China. But back then, I guess maybe it might make more sense.
Do you have the breakdown for where that money was made? How much of it was made in Hong Kong and how much of it was made internationally?
Yeah, we're gonna have a quick look at that because that's Infernal Affairs.
Stand by, folks.
Yeah, you can waffle along. Box office Mojo, I think. Why do you think that's important?
My gut instinct is to say that it would have made most of that money in Hong Kong, or it would have made most of that money in...
So happy you brought that up.
Am I right?
So out of the 8 million, 98.1% of that was made internationally.
Okay, so internationally, not to the film itself, but...
Domestic is 100...
Domestic means America.
60... Okay. Thank God you brought that up. Okay.
So a very small amount of money, a very small amount of it was made in America. Yeah. I would be curious to know how far this played outside of...
in 2002?
I shouldn't imagine very far at all.
Well,
obviously,
actually,
it's been given a larger platform since it released.
It's funny you bring that up, actually, because one of the famous trivia points about Infernal Affairs online is that it made more money in China that year than the second Harry Potter movie.
Really?
Yeah, so that tells you a bit about what they were showing, I guess.
Well, China famously doesn't believe in ghosts and witches and doesn't like films that sound like witchcraft.
Yeah, that's true.
In this country. So it doesn't surprise me that Harry Potter made almost nothing.
And Spider-Man also. It made more money than Spider-Man.
Now, that does surprise me a little bit, so that's fair enough.
Sam Raimi's, I believe. Okay, cool. So tell me what you think of Infernal Affairs. You've recently rewatched it for the podcast.
This is a rewatch for me. Should we go through Rotten Tomatoes scores before we do that?
All right. Well, actually, this is high. So this is the part of the show where I'm going to ask Mark to guess the Rotten Tomatoes critics percentage and the average user perspective. We are definitely the average users here. But what can you tell me about the percentage for the critics, the tomato meter? What do you think it is?
As always, I'm going to go for trying to guess which one's higher rather than getting the numbers exactly right, but I definitely think this is going to be a critic's film as opposed to an audience's film.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that this is like 98% critics, but then the audience score, it's really stylized in places, and I would imagine that in for different audiences in different cultures and different spaces, some people might find this off-putting. All the stuff that I love about it most, I should make clear, the stuff that I think is amazing, I would imagine some people find off-putting. So I'm going to guess 98% critics and then maybe 88% audiences.
Okay, we've got 94% critics, 95% audience. But there's only 70 critics reviews and there's over 50,000 audience. So is this one of those where it picked up maybe a bit later on?
It's again something that we won't have the access to see when these things came through, but I should imagine, let's say hypothetically post 2006, that this would have had a really, really big influx of viewership.
I wonder why.
Who could say?
We are, of course, referencing the fact that this movie was remade famously by Martin Scorsese in 2006 in a little movie called The Departed, which...
Phenomenal acting.
The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, I believe, and a bunch of other people.
No, The Departed with a bunch of other people and Mark Wahlberg. That's...
You know what?
Really, what ultimately Infernal Affairs is kind of missing. It's not really got a Sergeant Dignam who is so... He just perfectly captures the sort of the mindset of the space and who these people are. So we'll get too distracted if we start talking about The Departed.
Yeah, we have to focus on this movie and then get to The Departed. So I thought it was interesting to talk about the fact that obviously this released in 2002 and it revitalized apparently Chinese cinema. It was a massive hit actually over there. And it was since Hard Boiled and stuff like that, it was really massive. And yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts about the movie, first of all, since you've rewatched it recently, right? Do you remember the first time you watched it?
Not that long ago either. Probably only 4 or 5 years ago that I saw it for the first time. Neither time have I had the opportunity to watch it in the cinema, sadly. So both have been sort of at-home viewings. This is... trying to think about the best way to express this. Something you might not know about me. My favourite genre of music, or one of my favourite genres of music, is the 80s power ballad.
Okay.
I absolutely love a proper Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Tina Turner type thing, Chicago. And there's something in there which is it's just so melodramatic, but it shoots the moon and goes beyond that to a place that's really, really earnest, and people just sort of being so open with their emotions and so just nakedly truthful. That's what Infernal Affairs is to me compared to The Departed. Sorry to make the comparison again, where The Departed's version is so gritty and down to earth.
It really is.
It's very, very, it's shooting for realism, where Infernal Affairs isn't, and that's exactly what I love in a film like this, where it's evocative of the psychological stress that both of our protagonists are under. And really, in a way that The Departed isn't. This is two protagonists. It's people who are antagonists in each other's lives, but we're following both of them and sort of trapped in their mindset, whether they're the cop or the mafia member.
There's this great scene where they meet at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
In the hi-fi. So, famously, the one who's embedded in the cops, and he's a criminal basically. He goes to this hi-fi station place, and the other guy's selling him basically on this system. And during the whole movie, actually, the guy who's embedded in the cops, he kind of lives a bit of a lavish life. He spends a lot of the money he has. He has a partner that doesn't know anything about what's going on. I'm guessing they got together way later because they're both moles since they're 18 or something in both of their respective...
It's like a lifelong thing for both of them, basically.
Yeah. And where the other one, the criminal, I don't remember him living that kind of a lifestyle, really.
I mean, it's interesting that you're referring to them as as the cop and the criminal.
Yeah.
That you're even sort of treating either, because it's hard to say which one is which after a while, and the morality which is kind of superimposed upon them. There's something in your head that goes, a criminal who's embedded in the cops, that's the wrong thing to do. But a cop who's embedded in the criminals, that's the right thing to do. That's a really noble thing. And of course, that's the extremely binary moral approach to this sort of thing, which is very unhelpful to actually unpicking who these people are and what the damage is being done to both of them by superiors who are forcing them into these positions. Neither one really has a choice in what's going on.
No.
They're both stuck.
Especially not the cop who's facading as a criminal, where the entire movie is trying to get out, I feel. He's like, this has to be the last one. They meet up. There's so many meetings on roofs, by the way. Seems to be like the go-to criminal place. It seems really like, maybe, well, I don't know. Is it easy to get to a roof these days? I don't know. But yeah, a lot of access needs to be checked on these roofs. But yeah, he meets up with all these cops basically, and the cops say, "Well, listen, actually, you have to stay in one more. You know, well, come on, keep going." He's like, "I've done my time, dude. Like, let me out. I just want to be a cop again. Really, I want to get a chance to be a cop." And it gets really messy towards the end, where the cop, yeah.
The like taking the specifics of what's happening out of the story away from it, the thing that's happening in there is just people who are trapped in one life and don't want to be in it. People who are trapped in a lie. And that then sort of echoes through the relationship drama. You mentioned the relationship drama, which you presume happened after the infiltration. Certainly, Tony Leung's relationship which is much more developed in Infernal Affairs. I think it's really nicely done. That is also like it's built on this lie, and it's expanding outwards upon it, and it's just this central broken thing in both protagonists that is just ruining any attempt for them to live a normal life.
Yeah, because he tries to live a normal life because he has a normal partner, and in the sense that she's not a criminal that we know of, and she's not infiltrated the cops that we know of. But there's all this like furniture coming into this house, and this brand and lavish lifestyle that he has. And then spoilers for the ending, by the way. I hope you've watched this. There at the end, she finds out basically that he's a criminal. First and foremost, and she kind of leaves, I guess. She's just kind of like, I'm disappointed, I'm going. Yeah. And she cries a bit. That's it. I was expecting something a bit more.
Especially because of the heightened nature of the way that a lot of this storytelling is being done. You're expecting melodrama in that moment.
I think so, because they're so mirrored, right? Because the other character, who's our cop that's in the criminal, he's embedded in the criminal, he doesn't have a love life. And I don't know if that's by choice, but he gets a love life because he has to go to therapy, I believe.
Yeah.
And then he falls in love with a therapist. And I found that weird, not to fall in love with the therapist, but just the fact that there's this whole arc between them, basically, where the music is so melodramatic, and you get all these like black and white flashbacks like during the whole movie, and they kind of closed his relationship with this therapist so weirdly. He goes to see her again one more time, and it's like, will they, won't they? And then eventually it just doesn't.
But that's what I love about this way of doing a film. It's going back to that 80s power ballad thing, where it's shooting for such melodrama that it becomes real again. It goes all the way round and comes to the far side, where it's just like these are the emotions that are being played with having a relationship which is based on a lie, and having a life which is based on a lie. It's like the music and the flashbacks and the different
the black and white flashbacks with a bit of like slow-mo.
Oh,
much slow-mo.
Yeah, the slow-mo. It's way too much, and to the point that it makes you feel like this is something that's earnest that's being expressed. Or it gives me a lot. I get a lot more emotional resonance out of that than I do out of, let's say, Vera Farmiga and Leonardo DiCaprio's relationship in The Departed, which is just played much more straight, and is played to be a lot even less of a relationship, kind of. There's more sort of real-world difficult emotions being had in the way that they're expressing it, as opposed to something which then sort of it becomes almost schmaltz in Infernal Affairs.
Well, Infernal Affairs, there's kind of like a deep injection of like, I guess, Chinese drama, but also Law and Order kind of drama, or Murder, She Wrote kind of drama, in my opinion.
Murder, She Wrote.
Absolutely, where it's like I couldn't believe it at the end, because it felt very staged, that last shot of them meeting up together in the therapist's office. I was like, all right, buddy. But what's really, really good about this movie, are the scenes where you don't know who's going to come up on top, and they're both moles basically in their circles trying to get information to the other side and not get caught. And there's this really great scene at the where the I gotta stop calling him. I'll just call him the criminal, who's not a criminal, but that guy, which I should definitely get his name out, but we're in the middle of it. He has this moment where he has to pass information to the cops, and he's doing so through Morse code against the glass.
Yeah.
So he has a microphone, I think, in his like cast, or maybe he put it. No, maybe it was in his jumper or something. I can't remember. But he taps on glass basically to get Morse code to the cops, and at the same time, in the cops' room, the criminal who's a cop is hearing, oh, I've got this information from inside. And he's like, who the hell's giving this information? How are they getting this information?
Yeah.
And he's like texting his boss, like, hey, someone around you is the mole, basically. And that's the best part about Infernal Affairs, in my opinion. Those are the best.
You mean like sort of the nitty-gritty practice of how you would actually, like, if I was stuck in this situation, how am I getting information across without it being clear that it's me who's giving information?
And also, who's going to come out on top?
Yeah.
Who's going to get found out? And in the end, I guess it's kind of, well, it's somewhat the cop. It kind of ends up on kind of the same. I mean, he loses his relationship. I'm saying he because I see him here, but he loses his relationship, and the other guy also kind of loses everything at the same time. And that's why they made two more, right? Because there's like two more Infernal Affairs.
Have you seen either of the Infernal Affairs sequel? No, I have not. And I love Infernal Affairs. I think it's fantastic. But if I was to pick a spot in which The Departed is superior, it's entirely surrounding the Sergeant Dignam character and the way that the way that character sort of centralizes it in place, but also for the ending, the infamous ending of The Departed that is so satisfying.
Are you talking about the elevator?
I'm talking about after the elevator.
Okay.
I'm talking about post all of that when, again, this is now spoilers for The Departed, sorry if you've not seen The Departed, where it seems like Matt Damon has come out on top. And has got back to his apartment, and he has killed Leonardo DiCaprio, and now he's fully embedded and he's living his life, and then it's just Sergeant Dignam wearing the cap and gloves, shoots him in the head and leaves. It's so just blunt and it's cathartic.
We don't get that in Infernal Affairs.
You don't have the same. It's not. You don't have that. You don't have that catharsis with it. You don't have it doesn't feel as satisfying.
No. But it's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. And it's true that for me, Infernal Affairs has more of an ending. The Departed has more of an ending. And that's why there's no Departed 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just a perfect little.
Yeah, exactly. Where the Chinese movie has more of an idea, I guess, of like maybe we can make more of these, potentially keep it open.
Yeah.
And also kind of more drama, I guess. And I wonder where they go, actually, in 2 and 3. There's a Criterion collection Blu-ray set, which is like 65 quid. And I'm like, that's a lot. But I'd love to own it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Cool. So, what else we got? I wanted to ask you, could you be an undercover cop, Mark?
Undercover cop. No.
Can you imagine your life as an undercover cop?
Could you be an undercover criminal?
That was my next question, actually.
Well, that's the way round that I would want to do it.
You know what? Absolutely. I'm entirely on board. I feel like that would be less stressful, actually, than being an undercover cop. Because an undercover cop, you're kind of living in danger. And an undercover criminal, you are also living in danger, but at least you're surrounded by the law.
Oh yeah, famously the cops aren't in danger at all. They'll be totally chill if they find out who you are. Everybody knows it.
Oh yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about the boss actually, because the boss in The Departed, Jack Nicholson. Thank you. And then the boss in Infernal Affairs, Jack Nicholson and that guy also have something in common. I think they take the whole scene when they arrive on screen. There's that super cool scene in Infernal Affairs where he has like the boss is taken in by the cops and he's having lunch or dinner, and he out of the blue just gets really angry and like and it throws things around. Yeah. That's also very.
I mean, there's sort of infamously what Scorsese saw in Jack Nicholson's character apparently when he was doing The Departed. Was that he grew up around gangsters, and he grew up around gangsters who were losing their mind from time to time, and that was the most dangerous, or he was saying that was this really dangerous thing, like once someone has that level of power and that level of impunity and violence in them, but then starts to snap. Then they're just, like, all bets are off, they could do anything. And but that's too specific to like that, and that's the reason why you want to have these sorts of films remade, not literally beat for beat, but like sort of the rough skeleton of it, the concept, the core concept, the skeleton of the plot, and then just put it into a different culture and put it into a different time. That's specific to Scorsese's sort of upbringing and memories for that stuff, and it's not the sort of circumstance that we're talking about here.
So let me ask you one more time, why do you prefer Infernal Affairs to The Departed? Because when you talk to me about that, I'm like, oh, come on. The Departed's...
I mean, it is great. I'm not here to say The Departed sucks. Infernal Affairs, The Departed is potentially what this would really look like if this really happened. The Departed is sort of a literalism approach to interpreting this.
Yeah, for sure.
Infernal Affairs is what this would feel like if you were stuck in it. And for me, I would rather watch a film that's going to sort of give me an emotional resonance as to what this would be like, rather than the literal approach to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Why do you prefer The Departed?
I think that period of time where everything became gritty and realistic to like no end, basically the 2006 onwards, I think, up to 2015, when Transformers movies also became super gritty and violent.
See, you're talking about it and I'm just having flashbacks how much I hated this period of cinema.
But a Scorsese movie, I don't think I've seen Mark Wahlberg in many things too, so I thought he was great back then. I have different views now. And it was also a bit funny. I remember being like a bit comedic in times. I don't know, it really did it for me. And the accents and Boston, I guess I found it more approachable. And Leonardo DiCaprio breaking people's face in bars and just losing his mind while also being a cop. And of course, the twists, the shot in the elevator when he opens the elevator. And then of course at the very ending. It just kind of a cyclical nature actually of there's always going to be a mole and there's always going to be another mole. And it's just
you're not the only mole. There's more than just
there's more than just you.
The Departed feels like maybe the most successful version of something I think neither of us particularly like, which is the American remake of a very successful foreign language film.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels like about as good as you're going to get of doing that sort of thing. And yet the approach that it's taking...
I mean, Old Boy, the remake, pretty good.
Oh, yeah, everybody loves the Old Boy. It's just the approach that I don't like, of by Americanizing something, you focus on literalism over the emotions or the cultural specificities of the original. And you shave off those rough edges and make something which is, I guess, which is extremely accessible but less emotionally resonant. I'd much rather have the uncut, original, save the green planet over begonia approach.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of tracks with what we said in the Begonia episode and stuff. This way, way more your thing. All right, cool. Which department knocked it out of the park for you in Infernal Affairs?
You're not going to let me say in it. Editing.
Okay.
This this flashback structure, the slow-mos and the flashbacks and the changes in photography. The different ways in which, I guess it's more cinematography, the different ways in which for example, the therapist scenes are shot compared to any other scene where it just becomes a melodrama, rom-com all of a sudden, and those ways of expressing emotion in something which is so specific to this sort of a space.
I think the editing is a good shout because of all those tense scenes I talked to you about.
I mean, but then you can you can then sort of when it goes to a scene of who's the mole and where is he, you can then cut straight back into this sort of really high-paced tension.
Completely, I agree. I'll give it to the actors. I mean, we have now is a great time for me to actually say their names. So Andy Lau, the inspector who plays the criminal in the law as a police officer. And then Tony Leung Shing Shu Wai, who plays Shen Wing Yan as Tony Leung, who plays the criminal, who plays the cop, in the criminal sector environment.
Tony Leung is fantastic. He's just always fantastic, and it's really nice to see him being not recognized, but it's really nice to see him sort of reaching into larger films, American films at the moment.
What's he in?
I mean, he was in Shang-Chi. Recently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, he's in The Mood for Love and that sort of thing. Like, he's a fantastic actor.
So a Marvel movie?
I
That's about it.
don't want to see him in a Marvel movie. I want to see him get paid at the end of his career.
Yeah, fair enough.
I want to get you get that paycheck.
Yeah.
Right off into the sunset, Tony. You've earned it.
You know what? Actually, when we were watching Infernal Affairs, there's something I kept thinking because I had seen The Departed, and I believe Jack Nicholson. Isn't he a mole himself, or doesn't he have some kind of...
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay. I was expecting that to happen the whole way through. I was like, the boss is probably the mole the whole time, and then it doesn't happen. He gets shot in the head. But yeah, I was expecting that. Which one do you think would be, if anybody was to watch both of them back-to-back, double feature, which one do you watch first?
Ooh, if you double feature these two, what do you watch first?
I think it's got to be Infernal Affairs.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you got to watch. But the thing with Infernal, I would love to now try to go and watch the whole trilogy, try and find the other two and see where they take it. I've heard very good things about the sequels, so I guess you don't want to then sort of veer off into The Departed and then go back to it.
Yeah. If you like Infernal Affairs, what would you recommend?
Uh,
Not allowed to say The Departed, sorry.
You go first.
Memories of Murder.
Yes.
I thought Memories of Murder, there's more high kicks in that movie, if I'm honest, and I was missing a lot of high kicks in this one, Infernal Affairs. More high kicks would have been better. But getting to the bottom of it, detectives, not necessarily any moles in this one, but it does kind of have a look at maybe the underside of the police system and more rural police system in Memories of Murder, but also like the fact that they're not perfect.
You have something similar, to be fair, in Save the Green Planet, where the detective is a much more interesting character in Save the Green Planet.
Yeah. Rather than Begonia, where he's not that interesting.
Sure, yeah. Or they spend a lot of time sort of going through the sort of the tensions in the police department and sort of petty grievances that are being used to slow down cases.
So Save the Green Planet?
Yeah, Save the Green Planet, I'd go for.
I'll say Memories of Murder. Okay, so that's it for Infernal Affairs. There you go. Great movie. Let's move on to our second topic, which I have a lot to say about. Our second movie, which is Exit 8.
Yes.
Which we've recently seen, both of us, for the first time. Actually, we saw it together.
We did, for once, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Director Kenji Kawamura. And the background is that it's inspired by a viral 2023 indie game, basically, called The Exit 8, where the game involves navigating an identical underground corridor that you're stuck in a loop, and you need to get out of them by spotting anomalies. So it's the same corridor, just like in the movie, and if you spot an anomaly, you turn back. Mm-hmm. If you don't spot an anomaly, you go forward. And as you loop back around one way or another, if you've got it right, you're through, and you're through for another loop to find other anomalies, and you have to do this 9 times, I think, in the game, something along those lines. And if you get it wrong, you're back to step 1, where you have to start over again. And it has a bit of horror elements to it, not necessarily like insane horror, but it does have dread.
Well, have you played the game?
No, but I've seen some playthroughs.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, so I played a little of the game.
Did you really?
I did play a little of the game, and I was surprised in playing the game how much further they take those horror elements than they do in the film. Budget? I mean, it's not particularly. So some of the things, I don't want to, spoil some of the stuff that happens in the game if you want to go and play it. But it's not necessarily high budget stuff. It's not the walls dripping with blood and big monsters sort of jumping out. But it's similar to. There is a moment in the film where the poster's eyes move. Yeah. And he realizes that as he's walking past the posters, the eyes of the posters are following him. Yeah. That's kind of the vibe of what's going on in the game. Yeah. A lot more. Yeah. But that's really only the one moment that kind of thing happens in the film. Okay. I was kind of surprised that they didn't go for some of the other stuff that they've put in the game, which would translate, I think, quite well to screen. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, but well, we'll get to it. IMDB, a man becomes increasingly desperate when he realizes he is trapped in a subway station, needing to complete a mission to get out. So this is absolutely a video game adaptation. Obviously, if you haven't caught that on yet, I love video game adaptations. Like, most of them are terrible. I was going to say, that's a really hot take. It depends. I love the good ones, of course, but I would say, like, your average, 5 out of 10 is a 10 out of 10 for me when it comes to video game adaptations. I'm very loose and just happy to see it on screen. And I have a few that I'll talk about when we get to our recommended, watch this if you like this kind of stuff. Box office, I couldn't find anything about, how much it cost to make.
but I would hope not much.
20 quid, yeah, whatever they had on them at the time.
Well, it's just, the station, whatever. But it grossed 41 million so far, which is pretty good.
That is extremely good.
Pretty good. I think that's mostly in Japan and then coming over here as we go along. But yeah, it was very popular. And I think that's why they keep making video game adaptations, is because we do have an audience here.
Well, it's a combination of both then, isn't it? Because horror is always infamously cheap and successful. Not always, and not recently necessarily, but for a long time it's been the case that you can make a horror film for a 7-figure amount of money and pretty consistently get an 8-figure amount of money at the box office and turn that around. And so this is both that, but it has that, and then it also has this video game / YouTube appeal.
100%.
The Iron Lung, the Markiplier film, had a really big sort of drive to get it into cinemas recently, and I'm sure this had a sort of similar approach where people who love the game were sort of...
It's good to see that people can get movies into cinemas. Does that make sense? Like the idea that like as a community we can get along, and a bit like we should all be, probably emailing our local councillor or something to get potholes fixed. You can also do the same thing. You can also do the same thing to get your favorite YouTuber's movie into your favorite cinema.
It works.
It works. It's something you can do. So that was a nice surprise. So we have Kazunari Ninomiya as the Lost Man. I don't think he has an actual name in the.
I'd assumed not.
Yeah,
I'd assumed not.
Just a lost man. And let's talk about it. So, what did you think of Exit 8? But right before that, we're going to do the Rotten Tomatoes. We're going to do the Rotten Tomatoes.
Sorry, the new studio's thrown you off your game.
Kinda. Rotten Tomatoes, Exit 8. There you go. Boop. Let's have a quick look and see. Whoa, okay. I was not expecting that.
Well, that's going to change my opinion.
So sorry. Shouldn't have said that. So we have 2 reviews here. We have, of course, the critics review. Maybe I'll tell you how many reviews are here, actually. We have 112 critics reviews, okay? And then on the audience reviews, we have 100 plus.
Oh, I was expecting that number to be outrageous. I was expecting a number that had been sort of love-bombed with reviews. Okay.
So what percentage do you think the critics gave it? And what percentage do you think the audience gave it?
Definitely audience film. Definitely not a critics film. This is going to be like 55% critics and then 85% audience.
All right. 85%, what did you say, audience?
Yeah.
Bang on, 85% of the audience. That's pretty good.
Okay.
94% critics, though.
You're kidding?
Yeah, critics love this for some reason.
Not for some reason. I quite enjoy it.
No, I like the movie. What I'm just saying is, like, yeah, it is surprising considering what you just said, that maybe it's not necessarily the critics. How much do critics know about video games? I mean,
who cares? Like, you don't need to know anything about the game to enjoy the film.
Which is good.
Yeah, no, it's a very simple film, both in its setup and in its themes.
Yeah.
That it's just sort of critiquing this circular reasoning that the protagonist is stuck in.
Yeah.
And has that lovely, nice arc, that very, very simple clarity to sort of him being stuck in this space. And the reasons that he is, for those who haven't seen the film, the opening scene is him, all shot sort of first-person stuff to sort of get you in that video game mindset.
Which I love, by the way. They did the same thing in Doom with with The Rock. Thank you very much. And that is a baller move that I will always respect. Yeah. Always give me a first-person like that. That just gets me like pointing at the screen and saying that was for me. Thank you very much.
Way back when, this is a detour now, but way back when there was a film made about whether or not Grand Theft Auto games caused violence.
Right.
I think it was like a TV movie, that kind of thing. I think Daniel Radcliffe was in it.
Oh my God, yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
And then they had a great moment in there where when somebody started committing GTA-adjacent crimes, the camera levitated up behind them into that perfect shot that you get in the games of, sort of like just over the shoulder, third-person stuff. That was very effective in that, as they were stealing cars and things. Unrelated to the film.
Well, kind of. It is a video game, adaptation. So that's pretty good.
But so Exit 8, Exit 8 opens with this character having a relationship conversation with his girlfriend about whether or not he's ready to be a dad.
In his earplugs.
In his earplugs.
In a very busy tram.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Surrounded by unpleasant people, or specifically one unpleasant person that he had the opportunity to intervene in and he doesn't. And
Who's
then
yelling at this
yelling at a
pregnant
baby,
lady?
like
No, at a lady that
specifically
has...
at a baby, and be like, why won't this baby shut up? Very weird, and but sort of like very, like, it's like a really, really a real clarity opening. Is opening on being like, here is a person who is not intervening. Here is a person who's not dealing with the problems in their life. They're stuck in circular reasoning. Here is them stuck in a tunnel. How are they?
Whoa.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
That's kind of the approach. Real. And I love a film that opens with like a thesis statement idea like that. A film that will open with a scene that is clearly not necessarily the reality of the situation, but is like, this is the emotional embodiment of who this person is. This person is someone who's not intervening and making decisions for themselves and doing the right thing.
And then he gets out of the tram and he gets stuck in the loop of not intervening also in a way. Like
Absolutely.
And he gets stuck in this... it's kind of like a corridor, right? It's just a corridor in the subway system. And it's kind of my nightmare. And I think a lot of people's nightmare, this idea of like, I can't get out of here. So he goes around the corner and then he is back at the start. Basically, there's a bit of a curve and then he goes boom, 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 boom.
Back straight through.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was done with a very nice stitch edit as the camera turns a corner, or if they built sort of a set that allowed them to do this. But there were some oneers that go around the loop at least once, if not twice.
Which is pretty cool.
Very, very effectively done.
What did you think of the movie?
I found it very simple. It's a simple premise and it's a simple idea, and that's not necessarily a criticism. It's nice to have a film which is, simple and sort of like just dealing with its central premise and nothing else. Just getting it done. There were elements to it which I found a little bit slow because it's such an odd situation to be in. It takes the protagonist a while to cotton on to what's happening, which makes a lot of sense. I would also be confused if I found myself in this situation. But it really is, there's a number of, like, the opening half hour or so, there's a number of times of him repeating the loop and trying to work out what it is that he's supposed to be doing that take a real while for it to get going. But once it does get going, I found it very effective. Yeah. I thought it was, the horror elements are so toned down as to be in that kind of uncanny valley element, where it's just like things are slightly off, and that makes it more unsettling than if there were monsters jumping out the floor and screaming at you.
But you might have been more entertained if there was monsters jumping out at the very beginning.
I think I'm happy with creepy.
Because, this, just saying, it was a bit slow, comes up a lot. It's only got 6.5 on IMDb, which is way lower than the Rotten Tomato score. And I read those reviews, and a lot of them had to say it's slow.
It is.
And it's repetitive. But it's the nature of what we're doing here, isn't it? That We're just going around in circles.
Yes.
So when you were saying, well, I wish they had spent more time with like creepy eyes, I was like, but were we making this longer? Like, how are we going to do this? Like, it's going to be even harder to watch. Although I liked it. I would have liked that. That would have been good. And then you got this guy walking, and you got all these elements, and there's a kid. And I believe the game doesn't involve children at all in terms of like this idea of like becoming a parent and making decisions. That's something that was added in to create a bit more of a drama narrative, I guess, for the movie.
Which is a great decision in adaptation, to not just repeat the game perfectly as it was and put it straight onto screen, to give that really clear narrative arc in a way that functions within the new medium. You
know what else that works on? Book adaptations.
Yes.
Book adaptations need stuff stripping out, stuff put in.
Don't persuade me that Project Hail Mary is decent. I know what you're up to.
Project Hail Mary is pretty good. So yeah, I mean, on my end, I really enjoyed it. I think it works really well in the cinema. It helped me just simmer into it and sit down and take my time with it. And I also like the idea of we were participating in finding the anomalies.
Yeah.
I think the repetitive problem that we have is that as he goes around more and more, he creates a system for himself where he's like, I look at these posters, and then I look at this door, and so when he does that 3-4 times in a row, it gets a bit samey.
It does, but like you say, it involves you in the process. It reminds me a little bit of the Invisible Man remake with Elizabeth Moss recently, where there's so many long empty shots of just an empty room, and after a while of having some of those and knowing that there's probably an invisible person in there somewhere, you as the audience start going, okay, fine, so what's wrong?
Yeah.
Is that turning? What's
happening?
It engages you in trying to find out what's happening.
So I enjoyed Exit 8 the most when I was engaged. when I was involved in finding the anomaly itself.
Yeah.
And also kind of wanting to yell at the screen when he wouldn't find an anomaly and you found it. And you're like, oh no, the arrow's the other way around. What's going to happen? I think the stakes didn't feel so high for like most of the movie, unfortunately, where the idea that he was stuck there kind of got lost in the background in my head. I didn't feel that was a danger. It was kind of like even like a dream sequence in some ways. I didn't feel like he was in any danger at any given time, really, except just being stuck around creepy things.
But isn't that the real danger that he's in his life? The danger that he's in his life is not that someone's going to kill him. The danger that he's in is that he's stuck. And he's not doing anything to improve
And
his
he's
position.
not making decisions.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
It really works. It's one of those films that works when you think about it and you think about the way that they've done it. And you're sort of like picking it apart and going, okay, I really understand how you're expressing this character's mindset in a sort of a creepy setting, and you've kind of hit the reality off button. Boop, we're into this really weird world, and this is how it is. It's like an intellectual exercise that works. It's just not necessarily as engaging as it could be in some elements of doing that.
Yeah, and they do have some really effective VFX scenes, I think, especially towards the ending of the movie. Some rats.
Yeah.
Could have been a bit more. Yeah, as I said, I wanted a bit more out of it in terms of like the fear and the horror and stuff. But having not played the game, I don't know how far they can take it. Is there more to the game in terms of that aspect?
It's that uncanny valley thing. There was a moment where this man, the man who's just walking on loops, where our protagonist goes with him and he's doing some he's still.
Wow.
He's just there, like he's
Doing
just
it
on
so
his
well.
own. And it's creepy and unsettling. That kind of uncanny valleyness, they drive that further in the game in a way that I think again would have been really sort of expressive on screen. On screen, would have been very effective. To do things like that, if not necessarily those exact things. I'm not asking again for like a one-to-one adaptation where you just sort of repeat exactly what the video game does, but it goes in a different direction in the film where things become a little bit more heightened in terms of the rats or the water, and it is
The kid?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I guess that the reason that's in there is to provide the stakes, which interestingly you're saying that you didn't find anyway.
I didn't find there major stakes in terms of the danger of it, but I did like the puzzle aspect of it. I was like, we're trying to get through these stages. I can't remember if it's 9 or so of these loops he has to do while figuring out the anomalies. And I was expecting something, the creepiness to kind of like go way, way, way higher. Some people also online didn't like the idea of like forking in that narrative around the kids, around the choice of being a father or not. I think it's important.
I think that was a great decision.
I think that was a good decision too. And spoilers if you haven't seen, obviously, the ending of the movie, so you've been warned. Go watch Exit 8, first of all. I think it's great.
Definitely worth supporting this kind of film.
Yeah, definitely worth supporting. But at the end, he gets back on that train, I believe, and then I think it's implied he intervenes, right?
It's left open-ended. It's a little bit of an Interstellar Inception ending,
right?
Of like, is this him? Is this him moving on, or is this just him stuck in the set? Has he not changed at all for his experience? Is he still unclear as to what it is that he's going to do?
Yeah. I think he intervenes.
That'd
be the idea, right?
I think that says a lot about your personality, that you think he intervenes. That's a nice thing. That's a nice thing, that you believe in him. You believe that he's changed.
Yeah, but I think it's also something we can all relate to, the idea of like, do I intervene? I could just not.
I could just keep my head down and allow this situation to play out.
And go on with my head, or I could intervene in something that might get me in physical harm, danger, death, that kind of stuff.
Nobody wants to stand up for somebody on the train.
Yeah, but they have a baby.
There's a lot of good reasons to do so, and we all should.
We
should all stand up for someone on the train.
All right. There's not really a best performance to choose here because there's like 3 people.
I mean, I'd go for that guy who just walks. I don't know if he has a name. I don't know if he has a name as well. I don't know if there's the man who's lost and the guy who walks.
Walking Man.
Man?
Yamato Kochi. Walking Man.
I think he is fantastic. He is so. He has one thing to do. And he does that thing perfectly, of looking like a mannequin and looking like he maybe isn't alive. He's just fantastic at that.
Yeah. And also we have Naru Asanuma, who's the kid.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And we nearly forgot Kotone Hanasa, who plays the high school student. There's this girl who appears.
Oh, goodness, I forgot her.
Yeah. There you go, left a mark. So let's talk about game to film adaptations.
Go on.
Do you have any favorites that you can think of before I come up with a few?
Oh my God, any game to film adaptations that I think did really well. I'm certain that as I say no, you're then going to remind me of someone. I'll go, oh yeah, that was fantastic.
Do you think people need to have played the game to watch Exit 8, first of all?
No.
Good.
And I think that any adaptation where you need to have
Done the
engaged
thing.
with the prior is a bad adaptation. It's messed up. If you need to have played Assassin's Creed to watch Assassin's Creed, then that's a really, really terrible adaptation.
Yeah.
If you need to have read Project Hail Mary.
Ah! Okay, video game adaptations. Have you seen any that you can remember that come to mind?
I feel like that. No, I can't think of any that come off the top of my head that have been really effective. But I'm certain that I'm missing something.
All right. Well, you're probably going to shit on mine, so it's fine.
Well, no, here we go.
I love. I'm just checking the year here. I love the 2006 Silent Hill movie with Sean Bean.
No,
himself.
I have not.
You've not seen that one, okay?
Nor played it.
It's by Christoph Gans, who's a French guy who's like fascinated by Silent Hill. Basically, it's a story about a woman who goes to man who goes to Silent Hill to find his kid, basically. And in the movie, they kind of gender swap it. It's a woman who's looking for a kid in Silent Hill, and it's a foggy town, and really weird stuff happens there. Very industrial, factory calamity happened. There's ash falling from the air in the movie. And yeah, Christoph Gans made that movie and then decided to make no other great movies ever after. But Silent Hill, in that time, was really good, really good. And I say that he hasn't made any good films after that, and I mean it, because he did Return to Silent Hill recently, which was an absolute devastating watch. And I feel so bad. You know why? Because I feel like people who are so passionate about these games, who do their best, I want them to make good movies, you know? So my question is, like, how do you go from, like, you made Silent Hill, and the movie's got 6.5 on IMDb, but I love it. And a lot of people love it because it was faithful. Not necessarily, it's not a one-to-one of the game, but it's got a good narrative. Sean Bean's in it for a bit, why not? And it's a vibe. It's an absolute vibe. There's a scene where a woman gets like pulled up basically by Pyramid Head, who's this massive guy with a massive pyramid on his head.
That makes sense.
It feels weird when I say it, but and he's holding her up basically, and she's a baddie, so it's fine. He grabs her face and he pulls down and he skins her completely. And I remember being 14 and being like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
That sounds like something that you would think is the best thing you've ever seen in your life when you're 14.
Yeah, I think I still would like it.
You might have seen it at the perfect age.
There's also that. And then Return to Silent Hill, which just kind of... I read about Christoph Gans saying I wanted to like continue making, coming back to this universe and these games that I just absolutely love. I got the sign off from the game designers, and I went and made a movie, and it was nothing like the game. And it really flopped. It was like one on, really, really bad reviews, really bad everything. And that's such a bummer to me because I know there's passion in there. And I want more video game adaptations in general. And we are getting some.
Well, so other than Silent Hill, which are the ones that really stand out to you then?
Doom.
Positive.
It's a terrible.
No, you don't love Doom, the film.
Okay, at the time I thought it was fine. I'd play Doom and I was like, well, it's more Doom on screen, it's fine. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's still fun enough. I don't know. It was. I think I'm kind of broken when it comes to video game adaptations because there's a few that I was like, that was cool. World of Warcraft.
Okay, no, I actually liked World of Warcraft.
Okay, there you go.
But that's, again, the narrative. I don't know what the games are like, but the narrative between the Orc chieftains sort of vying for control in World of Warcraft, I thought was massively underrated when it came out. I thought that was phenomenal, really, really engaging, and I was like...
There you go.
So, but that, I assume, is, if not non-existent and heavily embellished from the games.
The game is like an MMORPG which spans, like 20, 30, 40 years at this point in time, and it has like incredible stories to tell. So I don't know how much they embellished. I think it was actually just like, let's pick a story from this massive universe. It's going to be all shot on a blue screen soundstage, and I just really, really liked it. And I'm very excited because I never was a fan of the Resident Evil movies.
Me neither, for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. Maybe the first one, but then after that, I just they felt very beige to me. Very beige to me. There's not much that I liked from those. But I believe it's Zach Kreger who made obviously Barbarian, then Weapons this last year, more famously. He's making Resident Evil movie right now.
So you're seeing in that Now, in that arc, you're seeing a franchise that is poor being pulled up by Zach Kreger, and you're saying that's fantastic. I'm seeing a director who's interesting being pulled down by Resident Evil.
No!
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I guess you might be onto something, but like the passions of the people are the passions of people. If he loves the video games with a passion.
Yeah.
So
you can make a great film out of anything.
True.
There's no premise that you can't make a good film out of, and
On
there's
any
no premise
budget.
that you can't make a bad film out of. It can be done, but the passion for something that you come into isn't always a positive thing. You can get stuck in something which you really believe in and think is going to be phenomenal.
I always wonder about that.
Yeah.
Is there ever been a moment of like serious whiplash when you think you've made the best movie ever and you're like, this is the best shit ever? I've watched it 15 times. I know it's amazing, and then the audience watch it and they're like, this is garbage, actually.
That's happened for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's scary. And then we have the other side of the coin, which are video games adapted from movies. And that is a thing that exists.
It certainly does, and from my understanding of video games, and I've played some of them, they're all the most low-effort, cheap stuff possible. It's just, the Lion King's come out, and I need to make a Lion King.
Famously, the Atari Lion game was terrible, and the E.T. Atari Lion game was horrible. And in the 80s and 70s, video games were cheap to make in a way, so you could kind of push one out. So many Terminator and Alien games were made in that period of time.
Maybe video games and films are telling stories in such different ways that they actually shouldn't be adapted to or from each other. Maybe this is something which can be done. So when I think of games that have been very effective for me recently, the nature of investing a player in the creation of those stories in Baldur's Gate or Papers, Please, or This War of Mine, and sort of making you feel like you're making these decisions and this isn't a narrative which is being crafted for you. This is a narrative which is my fault and I'm doing this. Can't be done on film. That's just not something that we do unless you're doing
Papers, Please is a great example, right? Which is a video game where you check the papers of people who are coming through, is it the Wall of Berlin, or is it like a USSR kind of system?
Arstotzka.
Yeah, it's made up kind of they're coming from Eastern European, and you need to make sure that their papers are correct, and they keep coming, and there are different ways to check that their papers are correct or not. They're lying to you, etc. I could see that being quite repetitive, like X8.
Well, you can't. The gameplay loop, a core gameplay loop, is never going to be replicable on film at all because there's no gameplay in a film, and then the kinds of stories that you're telling in a video game don't really work in the same way in film. Because I don't think they're appropriate to adapt to each other.
Well, I don't know, because I like the idea of we're gonna take a story from this universe, adapt it into a narrative that can be filmed, and we make a film out of it, and then we're gonna put all these kind of little Easter eggs for the gamers and stuff, and The Last of Us is a good example of that to varying degrees of success based on the season. But you have these extremely narrative games which are a bit like watching a movie in some ways, but the stakes are a bit higher, I guess, when you're playing it because it's your actions. But a lot of people also these days, they don't play the video games. They look at playthroughs. It's cheaper. Like a Resident Evil Requiem that just released, that's a 12-hour narrative horror game, and people are watching the game online.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm out of the loop. I'm not online enough to know this. But there are people who are...
Who will just watch a playthrough, no commentary playthrough.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I mean, we're going off a tangent here, but some video games that come to mind that were adapted by movies are, we got a bunch of Alien games, which is great. I love every Alien game, I think. But the Avatar games were actually pretty good.
Oh, actually?
Yeah, I know. I'm not a big fan of Avatar myself, but let me tell you, those games are pretty sweet. Not the recent one, sorry, not the Far Cry one. Some that released, I think it was a third-person game ages ago. That was pretty good. Yeah, anyway.
There we go. Far Cry. Far Cry 3 is so perfect for a game. Don't ever make a film of Far Cry 3.
Oh, well, it's the open world aspect of it that is interesting, right? Yeah.
World, and obviously you can do many films where someone's morality denigrates over the period of a film. That's that's well-trodden ground. You can definitely do that in a film.
Yeah.
You can't make me feel like it's happening to me. Far Cry 3 makes me feel like I lost my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Most the best kind of games do. To go back to Silent Hill for a second. Christopher Gans made one of my favorite movies, French movies called Brotherhood of the Wolf, which I recommend. It's a movie about La Bête du Gévaudan, which was it's kind of like a bit of a folklore kind of tale of like people who saying this massive wolf in the woods right now is killing everybody, and in the movie that is kind of taken a mythical aspect where the beast is kind of werewolfy in size and it's just absolutely massive. And so Brotherhood of the Wolf has like two kung fu leather wearing Matrix crossed over with like medieval times detectives.
You said so many different things
I know,
all at once.
And they're going to investigate what's going on. And it's kind of true detective-y, man. They're kind of like they're leaning over corpses and be like, what could have happened here, kind of thing. And yeah, I really like it. The only problem, it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. It shouldn't be 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Right,
There's a really tight 1:45 in there. But yeah, I would definitely like to screen Brotherhood of the Wolf. But yeah, that's Exit 8.
That's Exit 8 and also just general chat.
Yeah, and just general chat, of course. Behind the scenes, what department do you think knocked it out of the park when it comes to Exit 8?
I mean, there's only one. There's only one choice, and it's production design.
Production design.
Yeah, it's just it's the simplicity.
Yeah, less is more in this way, where they must have spent so long in that video game in a way to make sure to replicate everything. And I think they worked in collaboration with the guy who made the video game, because I think it was a single dev effort, which is great.
So just talking about the nature of adaptations there, that is something where as a film, they're trying to hew really closely to the source material. When they're making a film out of this video game, they want it to look the same and they want it to feel the same. Sure, you need to adapt it and to add a narrative, and you need to, but like they had the concept of a gameplay loop, they've tried their very best and done a pretty decent job of making a gameplay loop accessible in cinema. Whereas Infernal Affairs is taking the core premise, the skeleton of the plot, and then saying, I'm going to completely change everything else. I'm going to change who these characters are. I'm going to change the culture that they're in. I'm going to change the look of it to a massive degree. I'm going to change the language. I'm going to change everything about this. I'm going to try to change, other than the premise. The premise is great, and then the rest of it I'm going to adapt.
Would Infernal Affairs make a good video game, though? That's the question.
I mean, yeah. Maybe. It depends how much Morse code tapping you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Oh my God, maybe. I mean, what if you started the game and you have to pick which character you're going to play, and then you kind of...
I think that's the whole game, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. If you like Exit 8, what do you watch? Silent Hill for me.
I get what you're saying with Silent Hill. I mean, if you're going to go for a kind of loop video game adjacent thing, then I'm always going to say Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, hey, that would be a great video game.
Yes, I would accept Age of Tomorrow as a potential answer to what's your favorite video game adaptation, even though it's not one. It just feels like it should be.
It just definitely feels like Edge of Tomorrow, absolutely great. Great call. Yeah. That's fantastic. All right. Perfect. That's it. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mark, for your time.
You're very welcome.
And, well, we'll see you again very soon in the next episode. I was trying to think, like, when is this coming out? Soon. You'll see us very soon. Thanks again, Mark. See ya. Bye-bye. Bye. We good? Gods above? Yeah, good.
Yeah, you watch that whole thing and let us know how it looks.